Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to another reaction video. We're back with geography now. We're on to Bhutan. I think that's how you pronounce it. I'm sure I'll find out in a second. But this dude up here, whose also name is Paul. Good guy. And yeah, let's check it out, guys. Bhutan. Before I do, please hit that like and subscribe button, guys. Please and thank you. And yeah, let's get to it. Dun-dun-dun, Bhutan. By the way, awesome flag, Bhutan. I love the dragon.
So one thing you might not know is that Bhutan is a country.
It's time to learn geography now!
Hey everybody, I'm your host Paul Barbado, please call me Barbie. And today we head out to the Himalayas, so make sure you strap your boots on, because we're going to Bhutan. No, but seriously, here, let's dissect the flag. The flag is divided diagonally into two separate parts, the yellow and the orange. In the middle is a large black and white dragon. The yellow represents the civil tradition and temporal authority of the king. Typically, kings will wear yellow scarves on their garbs, and the orange represents Buddhism. The dragon is Druk, the thunder dragon from Bhutanese mythology, straddled between the two colors to signify the equal importance of both civic and monastic traditions of the country. Druk the dragon is white to signify the purity of inner thoughts and deeds, and is carrying 4 jewels in each claw to signify the wealth and security of the country. Dude, this flag has a dragon on it. That's a win in my book.
Agreed.
Cool little interesting side note, Bhutan actually calls itself Druk Tseden, which means the land of the thunder dragon. Alright, so now let's talk about where it's located. First of all, Bhutan is landlocked in Asia, right above India, below China's Tibetan Plateau, and close to Nepal in the west, but separated by India's Sikkim district. The capital is Thimphu, located in the northwest part of the country, and is divided into 20 districts, or dzongas, which technically translates to fortress areas. Now, when you look at the map, Bhutan actually has 3 disputed areas with China in the west and in the north parts of the country. In the west, you have the Doklam Plateau, and in the north, you have the Jakarlung and Pasamlung valleys. Now, here's the thing. Bhutan is actually incredibly isolated from the rest of the world. In fact, they only have one international airport. Paro Airport, in the town of Paro, known for its world-famous Tiger's Nest Monastery built on a cliff with a 900-meter drop, located about 22 miles away from Thimphu. The airport only has one runway, but a beautiful terminal built in the style of traditional Bhutanese dzong architecture. Now, here's the thing. Getting into Bhutan is a little difficult because foreigners are allowed to go in, but they have to pay a $250 daily tariff. That's right, every day you spend in Bhutan will cost you a minimum of $250. Of course, this cost covers a
Okay, never mind. It's gonna tell what it covers. Okay, I was like, say, like, what do you get with that $250? But he's able to tell me.
$150. Of course, this cost covers a state-provided hotel and a tour guide that will take you around. However, the cool thing is a portion of this money goes towards funding educational facilities in Bhutan. So when you go there and pay the tariff, you're actually kind of inadvertently helping the country as well. The only foreigners that are exempt from this tariff are Indians, Bengalis, and Maldivians. All they have to do is just show their IDs. They don't even need a passport, and they don't have to pay for the tariff. Francais?
Nice.
Pay up. Svensk? Pay up. Canadian? Oh, you better pay up. Indian? Oh, sure enough, sugar, come over here. Let's have some sweet tea and crawfish. I don't know why I made Bhutan a Cajun black guy, but just go with it. Now, although there are many dirt paths that technically cross the border of Bhutan from India, there are only 3 main highways and roads that people typically use. The Taranga Road, the 152 Bhutan Road, and the most common one, the Point Sholing Thimphu Highway, located on the border towns of Point Sholing, Bhutan, and Jalgaon, India. Most people use this road to get in. The cities and towns are almost like stepping into a time warp. Many of the buildings and towns are well preserved and over hundreds of years old, including many of the dzongs or fortresses. In fact, the language of Bhutan is called Dzongkha, or the language of the fortress. This means that Bhutan has kind of maintained the ambiance of a strange balance between ancient and slow, deliberate modernization, and you can see that in pretty much every town you go. Unfortunately, getting around in Bhutan can be quite tedious because every single road and highway has to traverse steep Himalayan mountains, and these mountains are actually really important to the people, and we'll discuss those mountains in...
It's really pretty, though.
Now, when it comes to landscape, Bhutan takes things very, very seriously. In fact, it's disputably the most greenest, eco-friendly country in the world. And it's actually quite Bhutan-iful. No? Okay, first off, the country is located almost entirely in the southern slopes of the Himalayan mountain range, and the country is almost completely mountainous with steep valleys and alpine hills that eventually drain into the southern plains of India. In fact, at about 7,000 meters, or about 24,000 feet, Bhutan actually has the world's highest unclimbed mountain, Gangkhar Puensum. It's considered a holy site to the Bhutanese people and is therefore left alone. Also, as of right now, Bhutan is the world's only carbon sink nation. This means they actually absorb more CO2 than they produce, and this can be attributed to a lot of things. For one, it's the only country in the world with constitutional obligations set upon its citizens to maintain at least 60% of the land under forest cover. Right now, Bhutan is at about 70%. If people cut down trees to aid the construction of their homes, they're typically required to plant new trees to replace the ones that they chop down. Most of the country is powered by hydroelectric power that they receive from turbines from hydroelectric plants. In fact, hydroelectricity makes up about 40% of Bhutan's export sector, mostly as they sell it to India, which also makes Bhutan the only country in the world where renewable energy is their largest export. In recent years, Bhutan's mission was to provide every single citizen with electricity. If rural households didn't have electricity, the government would issue free solar panels, even though sunlight is kind of limited in the Himalayas. Bhutan is also the only country in the world.
Sorry, but they got things going on. I mean, like the power and then like charging people. Like, I mean, they got things together and like planting trees if you get one, you know, if you chop one down. Like, wow. You guys are really strict, man. But no wonder you have a beautiful country.
Kind of limited in the Himalayas. Bhutan is also the only country in the world that completely banned plastic bags as they are seen as a major source of pollution, and they also completely banned tobacco and cigarettes. Another thing Bhutan takes very seriously is its wildlife. Various animals like langurs, Bengal tigers, sloth bears, red pandas, sambars, the beautiful and rare clouded leopard, blue sheep, and those strange barking deer that have fangs. I'm not even joking, there's an animal called the barking deer and it has fangs, look it up. In fact, it is a very serious punishable crime to kill any endangered species in Bhutan. If anybody is caught killing a black-necked crane, they could receive a life sentence in prison. The food here is great, by the way. And believe it or not, these people actually like really spicy foods. Let's talk more about these people. Due to the isolation and mandated culture rules, the people of Bhutan are, without a doubt, some of the most notably distinct and intriguing inhabitants of Earth. First of all, although the numbers are debatable, modern estimates put the country at a population of somewhere around 800,000 people. About half of them identify as Ngolop and 22% as a similar Sharchop, or the Eastern people. This can also include the indigenous tribes found within Bhutan. And 28% identify as Lhotshampa, or the Southern people, mostly in Nepalese origin. Most of the people in Bhutan, about 70%, identify with either the Kagyu or the Nyingma branches of Buddhism, and the remaining, about 28%, identify with Hinduism, mostly the Lhotshampas in the south. The official language is Dzonga, however there are about 53 other Tibetan-based languages and dialects spoken throughout the country. Bhutanese people are very intent on maintaining their nationalism and identity, so much to the point where the king issued a culture law that decreed all citizens to adhere to certain standards of life to maintain the Bhutanese identity amongst the citizens. This meant things like mandatory clothing laws, rituals, holidays, and so on. To this day, when entering government buildings and offices and culture centers, men are required to wear a go and women are required to wear a kira, the traditional clothing of Bhutan. This rule caused a lot of backlash, especially with the Lhotshampa minority, whom were mostly Nepalese and refused to follow the culture and wardrobe law. Things got so bad that Bhutan actually ended up exiling over 100,000 Lhotshampas for not adhering to the culture laws, and to this day, many of them are in exile, mostly in India. Bhutanese culture, or more specifically the Ngolop and Sharchop groups, are heavily influenced by Tibetan culture. To put it in the simplest way I can, Bhutan is kind of like an extension of the Tibetan Empire that kind of went a little rogue and did its own little thing. The official language, Dzonga, is actually very similar to the Tibetan language, and they even use the same alphabet. The only difference is some of the letters make different sounds, but overall, generally, people who speak Dzonga can understand what Tibetan people are saying more often than not, and vice versa. The Sikkimese people of northern India also have a similar language structure to Dzonga, but it's a little bit more unintelligible, and they write a different way too. To make things even crazier, due to a former ban from the former king, Bhutan didn't even have any TVs until 1999 and internet until the early 2000s. To this day, Bhutan is the only country in the world that deliberately chooses to not have any traffic lights and instead opts for traffic guards. Even North Korea has traffic lights, although most of them don't work. Bhutanese TV, though, is not restrictive. They can pretty much watch anything they want. CNN, BBC, Cartoon Network. However, there are two government networks, BBS1 and BBS2, that cover a variety of TV shows and newscasts, all in the Dzonga language. Oh, and that's the other thing. Bhutan is a monarchy, formerly an absolute monarchy, but about 20 years ago the system changed so that now the king can be impeached by a 2/3 majority majority vote of the National Assembly. Coronated in 2008 after his father abdicated, Jigme Khesar Namgyal Wanchuk is the current monarch, with his wife Queen Jetsun Pema being arguably the world's most attractive monarchs. Bhutan is, of course, a very highly Buddhist-influenced nation that mostly follows the Drukpa Kagyutpa branch of Buddhism. This involves a plethora of colorful shrines, temples, and statues and prayer wheels that are a part of everyday life, rural or urban. English is taught in schools, making Bhutan a surprisingly English-friendly country despite the lack of relations that they have with the US and the UK. This is partially attributed to the nationals being able to speak it with their Indian and Bengali friends and tourists. However, those aren't the only people that Bhutan speaks to. Now, Bhutan may be closed off from the rest.
Yeah, pretty much like the rules are you better follow the rules or get out, very strict. Like, wow, man, you better not kill no animals, man. You're going to jail for life. Man, they are serious. Holy crap. Oh, man, beautiful country, though, man. I'd just be afraid I'd hurt something by accident.
Now, Bhutan may be closed off from the rest of the world. However, it's weird because they're also kind of passively open to everybody else. Now, like mentioned before, India and Bangladesh are the only two countries that have embassies in Bhutan and are close partners in business and trade. Bhutan trusts India and Bangladesh enough to the point where they don't believe their country's cultural values will be a threat to the presence of these people. Nonetheless, there is still a stark contrast in culture between these nations, with India predominantly Hindu and Bangladesh predominantly Muslim in influence. Nepal has a little bit of a bone to pick with Bhutan. Now, of course, like mentioned before, back in the 90s, over 100,000 Nepalese people were forced into exile after the king made the cultural customs decree after feeling a slight threat from the Nepalese minority that weren't adhering to the Bhutanese customs. Bhutan was kind of harshly criticized for this. Then there's China, which after the siege of Tibet in 1959 effectively closed off all relations with Bhutan. Essentially, they have some drama with China. It got even worse when Chinese soldiers were spotted building some roads with the disputed Doklam Plateau region. China claims this was not done for any aggression, but Bhutan claims that China did this to further their territorial claims on the region. China, what the? Oh no, oh gosh golly, did I get too close? Oh, well, I mean, it's already there. I may as well just leave the road. Which is kind of funny because in terms of their best friends, Bhutan would probably consider the Tibet region, and specifically the ethnic Tibetan peoples of China, but of course not the rest of China. After Chinese occupation, numerous Tibetans fled to Bhutan as refugees and are seen as like the close brothers of Bhutan. They have really close historical ties, religions, practices, and lifestyles that make them get along very well. In conclusion, Bhutan is like the little Buddhist kingdom that broke away and did its own little thing, who didn't really care what others had to say, but now they kind of do care, but that's okay. There's nothing wrong with caring about what others think of you, as long as you don't take it to the degree of basing all of your self-worth and value off of it.
All right.
Stay tuned, Bolivia is coming up next.
There you go, Bhutan. Look, you guys seem like coming into the modern age, but you still got the old cool school buildings, and you're keeping all your history and traditions, but you're also, getting a little more edgy and cool, but still very strict. So, anyone visiting better mind their P's and Q's, especially if you move there. But anyways, yeah, definitely cool country, beautiful country. Wow, it seems like every country we go to, it's just a lot different from the previous one, and a lot more. Yeah, exact. Well, I guess every time you jump from different places around the world, you're going to get that, right? But anyways, guys, please hit the like and subscribe button, and I will catch you guys in future videos. Thanks for watching.